Hello and welcome to Module 4 for IN158 3D Animation 1 at Butler Community College. I'm your instructor, Jon Simpson. Chess is an old game dating back some 1500 years. Chess is a game of strategy and a little luck. If you want to succeed at chess, you need to know how the pieces move and work, which ones to sacrifice and which ones to protect. In chess, it's important to be able to see the long game or the big picture. Deliberate practice is required to become a chess master. Learning max is similar in many ways. To learn max, you need a strategy. You need to be able to see the long game, the process from what you can do that leads to what you want to be able to do. It's important to learn the tools and how they work. Some you will use more than others. It takes deliberate practice to master max. And a little luck doesn't hurt either. With that goal in mind, in this module we will create, texture, light, and animate a chess game. Begin as always by setting your project folder, saving your files, and setting the appropriate units for the project. I will be using inches. When creating, one needs reference. So the next step is finding images of chess pieces we like. We don't have to create exact copies, but the inspiration we get from the images will help us create better models. A whole chess set, that sounds like a lot of work. But in reality, it's only 6 pieces: king, queen, knight, bishop, rook, and pawn. Once created, we just clone them to fill out the set. The board itself makes 7 pieces technically, but it can be a simple chamfered box with a texture. So let's begin by identifying the shape within the shape. Starting with the pawn, identify the basic shapes that make it up. A cylinder for the base, a tapered cylinder for the body, and finally a sphere for the head. Another way to create the pawn would be to trace half the profile with the line tool and then apply a Lathe Modifier. The Lathe Modifier creates geometry by spinning the profile around the center. We can change the axis as well as move the widget for the lathe. Once my pieces are blocked out, I convert the base to an editable poly object. Remember, an editable poly gives us access to the sub-objects that make up the model: verts, edges, polygons, etc. With the base editable poly selected, click the Modify panel and find the Attach button. With this active, any objects that are clicked will be added to the base editable poly. Be sure to deactivate the Attach button when finished. Now that all our pieces are attached, enter subselection mode, verts, edges, or polygons, and begin to refine the shape of your piece by using the tools like Extrude, Inset, and others. Now we will begin work on the bishop. We don't see it in this image, but usually there's a cutout in the bishop's hat. There is a tool in the Mac called a Proboolean. We find Probooleans in the Create panel. In the drop-down, select Compound Objects. A compound object is made up of 2 or more objects, hence the name Compound Object. The Proboolean allows us to combine two or more objects in a variety of ways. There is much to learn about the Proboolean. I've included a link in the description to the help page for it. We will be using the Proboolean to create the cutout in the head of the bishop. Create a box and position it where you want the cutout to be. Select the bishop. In the Compound Objects menu, select Proboolean. Find the tick box that reads Subtraction. Activate the Start Picking button, then select the box in the 3D viewport. It disappears, taking the area where it intersected the bishop's head with it. Deactivate the Start Picking button. I encourage you to explore the other operations that are available. For the king and queen, I use a variety of different techniques, including detaching elements from my model, applying modifiers to them, and then reattaching them. By using soft selection, I am able to partially select subobjects in the vicinity of an explicit selection. What that means is I've selected the vertices in the middle, and as I move them, the vertices around them are affected slightly by the movement. The board begins life as a cube, then we convert to editable poly, inset the top polygon, and chamfer the outside edge. To apply multiple textures to an object, we use the multi-sub-object texture like we did with the windows. For my board, I will be using two textures, a wood grain for the sides and a chessboard pattern for the top. With the board selected, enter Polygon Selection mode and select the top polygon. In the command panel, find the Set Material ID rollout and set that number to 1. Press Ctrl-I on the keyboard to invert your selection. Now all the polygons except the top one are selected. Assign the Material ID for these polygons to 2. Exit Polygon Selection mode. Press M on the keyboard to open the Slate Material Editor. In the Material Browser, find Multi-Sub-Object Material. Double-click to make the material active. In the Properties panel, set the number of materials to 2. The multi-sub-object material now has 2 slots. Drag 2 standard materials from the Material Map Browser into the work area. Connect the output node from these 2 materials to the input nodes on the multi-sub-object material. From the Material Map Browser, find the checkerboard pattern under Maps. Drag a copy of that into the work area. Connect the checkerboard map to the diffuse on the first material. For the second material, assign a color that you would like applied to your chessboard. Once completed, apply the multi-sub-object material to the chessboard. You may need to click the Show Shaded Material in Viewport button for the material to appear. With the material applied, we see that we have a bit of a problem. This doesn't look much like a chessboard. The issue arises from Max not knowing how often or how many times to repeat the pattern. We can fix this by applying a UVW map. UVW maps allow us to tell Max how to project the material onto the object as well as how often to repeat it. For this case, we're going to select planar. You'll remember a plane is a flat two-dimensional object, so a planar projection shines the material down onto our object. By increasing the U and V repeat values, we can begin to make it look more like a chessboard. Additional fine-tuning is available by scaling the widget for the UVW map. We will discuss UVW maps in more detail in future modules. Now that all my pieces are complete, it's time to create my glorious clone army. A simple shift drag, then select copy and specify how many copies you wish to create. That's about it for this module. Don't forget to texture your pieces, build something for your model to sit in like a room, and add a skylight. Happy modeling!